Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. And recently there was an update in the game for New Zealand. New Zealand got some new scenery updates, some airport updates, things like that. So I decided to take a little bit of a trip here today. We are at Queenstown, and we're going to I'm going to pop out a drone, and we are going to take a look at this little airport before we take off. It looks like they're doing some construction over here. They got a big crane up over here. And this is the Queenstown Airport. They've updated the terminal. Nice little spots for planes to park. And there's a couple of runways. There's the big long one there that goes out through the valley. And then there's this little one that goes that way. We're going to be taking off on the long one, heading out that way. Isn't this pretty? Little valley. Queenstown. Sweet. All right, let's get back to our plane. I don't know why in the heck I parked clear out there. All right, let's see if we can get this thing started. I'll show you the flight plan. First off, let's get our drone put away. Okay, let's pull the flight plan in. We're going to be heading from Queenstown to Wanaka and up through this valley, across this mountain range here to the coast. And then I'm going to run the coast all the way up to keep from having to go up and down these mountains. Some other time, maybe we'll take a more of from Christchurch up over the mountain range. I'm going to end up here at Nelson. I decided that I was going to go up to Karamea and Takaka, and then down, but I decided this was getting a little bit longer than I thought. So from Nelson, I just decided to end up at Wellington. So we're gonna cross this across here and land in Wellington, and that'll be it. Just a short trip, kind of short. It's going to be at least a couple hours. It's supposed to be about an hour and a half, but I think it's going to take me a little bit longer. So let's see if we can get this thing started up here. First of all, let's go up above and turn some fuel on. I haven't flown this thing for a while. Maybe a little rusty. If I can remember how to start this thing. Stand on. Turn the battery on. Fuel boost we won't worry about right at the moment. This is on normal. Let's kick some aviation on. And give it a little bit of boost fuel and hit the starter. Takes a minute to wind up. Got to get those rubber bands tight. All right, let's get some lights on. I should have done that before I started the engine. My bad. Okay, left landing, taxi, right landing, strobe, nav, beacon. I don't have passengers. We'll just leave that alone, I guess. Okay, it looks like we've got our route in. Everything's good there. And so let's take the brake off and hit the runway. Sit up a little bit so I can see the road. I'm not sure how to get out of here. So oh geez, slow her down. This thing won't steer very good if you're going too fast. The propellers just push it around, so. All right, I'm going to cut through here. There's no other planes. I don't have any activity going. I don't turn a lot of the activity on because my computer already struggles playing this game. I get stutters pretty bad, so I try not to turn too much on. I don't want to get on the runway. Okay. Is there no way to get to the runway? Oh, that's weird. They've got the roadblock there. Well, toodly-doo. That's kind of weird. That they wouldn't have a side road that lets you get to the top of the runway. Well, I hope that there's no other planes coming in. Is it that grass out there that I'm supposed to be on? Maybe that's still what they're working on over there, is adding a road over. But that's kind of weird. Well, we'll just consider ourselves lucky it's a slow day. It'd be nice if the weather was like this all the time. I'm sure in some places it might be. Not where I live. We get another winter storm warning this morning. It doesn't look like the weather's all that bad, so it must be just winds. We get winds off the ocean. Okay, so this, I've got more than enough runway to get this thing off the ground, but since it's new to me, I'm going to go ahead and put a flap up, or a flap down. And let's hit the road, Jack. You know what I didn't do? I didn't set an altitude. Whoa, that came up pretty damn quick. All right, let's get off the ground here. I should have set an altitude. All right, we're going to set an altitude here of, let's see, I've got, I'm just going to set it for 6,000 to start with. We're going to be going down a valley, I think. I've got some mountains to go over, but let's just pop it up. To 6,000. And let's see, put our flight director on. And nav. Let's give it some climb. All right, that should get us up. Let's see if I can put the autopilot on. All right, it's catching our route. There we go. We're leaving Queenstown. I didn't even need a third of that runway. I guess I could put my flap back up. And we're off to our first destination. So Queenstown, I thought that was Queenstown over there, but maybe this is. Now this makes more sense. This is a pretty good sized little place, and it's split between these two, or this one mountain here. Speargrass, that reminds me of asparagus. Lake Hayes. Doesn't look very hazy, but then I've got the weather turned off. Kind of a mountainous area. It's pretty though. I like mountain areas. All right, we can kind of sit back and relax and hope that the flight plan's set in there good enough. Wow. There's a little, that's Arrowtown. So those are different little towns, I guess. Speargrass, Queenstown. Wow, look at that road going up that hill, that zigzag. It's like California. Arrow Junction. They're farming right up to the mountain there, aren't they? All right, so looking ahead here, I might have to go up maybe another 1,000. Let's go up to 7 and see how that goes. Let's go inside here and pull up. I'm going to pull these out. So I can see them. Okay, we are on our way. And we're coming to 7. Is that going to be high enough? Yeah, that'll be high enough. On our first leg. I'm guessing that's a highway down there going down the middle of that valley. Man, that road goes up right up that mountain. They got a zigzag to get up too. Look at that. Look at that zigzag. Wow. Amazing. It looks like they're working quarry up there. I've flown over this before, and they've really improved the scenery on this. Let's see, I've got a left view out of this plane, and I've got a right view out of this plane. And there's a wrong view. There's the cockpit. You've seen this plane before. I love this plane. I don't fly it enough, but I like this plane because it's not hard to fly. It's very stable. It can land on short runways pretty easily, and it will hold a few people. It holds 8 passengers, so if you want to take, people around, it's easy to do. There you go. It's just a nice little plane. It's an all-rounder. Okay, so the plan is to kind of fly through this valley here, and then we're going to take a left up here and head to the coast through that break right there. But we still have got mountains to go over. We're just going to enjoy the scenery. Mount Barker. We got Mount Barker, Wanaka. That's where we're going to be turning, right at Wanaka. There's a little airstrip there. It's a little bit long for me. Hour and a half, 2 hours. And so I didn't really want to mess with a touch and go. Another pretty little valley here. I just love to see all the farming. It just tickles me to see the land and, knowing that people are working the land, taking care of the land. You take care of the land will take care of you. That's what it's here for. I mean, there's so many people now think that human beings are destroying the earth. I think of it a little bit different. If there weren't human beings, what would the earth be? What would be the purpose? And are we harming our environment? Probably. But we're doing some good things. You can't control every human being on the world. You can only control your own environment. Highway flat. All right, here's our turn. That's a pretty river. It almost looks man-made. All right, there's another little airstrip right there. And we're gonna kind of come into this valley here and take another left. I just wanted to fly over this valley here. And then there's Lake Highway. Hallway. I know I'm going to butcher that. Is it hallway? Or Hawaii? Go away from me. I like to see country that has variety. Like we've got hills here, we've got farming land, we've got waterways, rivers, lakes. Look at this interesting pattern for farming here. It looks like a bunch of different crops all in a circle. It's strange. You got circles on circles here. And that little town's right there on the water. That's kind of cool. With farmland in between. Okay, we're going to be coming up to another turn towards the coast, right up in that area. So I need to be up high enough. Dingleburst Station airstrip. I don't think that's the one that I'm taking. I need to start. I need to restart my map page. Little nav map. I need to restart it. It's not following our flight here. Wow, look at that little airstrip right in the middle of the mountains. I wonder if they have trouble getting down to it. Wow. Dingleburn. I guess there's room to come down this little kind of a valley right here. But my word, coming off this hill and not hitting that hill. So it's a good thing it's running this way. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a turn here. And we're going to head over those mountains to the coast. Okay, so we're going to be heading over this mountaintop here, and then there's another little airstrip called Makarora, and we're going to take another left and then go straight to the coast. So we're going to actually go backwards a little bit on the map from our main flight. Because I wanted to see that little, it's called Nell's Beach, and I wanted to see that. So once I get over this mountain here, I'm going to take another left and go kind of down the map, south of the map, because I wanted to see that. And then we'll head north. Oh, cutting that a little close.
500.
Darn. I kind of looked away for a minute. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. All right, I better climb a little bit. Let's bring this puppy up. Whoop, wrong way. Let's get a good climb here. It'd be a hell of a rugged climb down, wouldn't it? Pretty mountains. Wonder if these get, I'm not quite sure the climate of New Zealand, but I wonder if these get a little bit more snow in the wintertime. I think it's not wintertime there, I don't think. It's spring for us, which means I think it's going into fall for them. I could be wrong. If you're from New Zealand, let me know. Makarora, that's where I was headed. And there is a little airstrip just over the hill here. Shouldn't say hill, it's a mountain. It's another little rugged one too, I would guess. Another pretty little valley. Leave it up to humans. You got all this rugged mountain, and any place there's a flat piece of land, we're farming it. Isn't that pretty? You gotta love it. And people that live in the city, they have, a lot of times, they just don't have a clue as to the life it takes to make sure they've got something to eat in the grocery stores. Just amazing. Amazing. Right, there's our left, and we're heading for the coast. I think I've got enough altitude, but we'll see. I'm at 8,000. I may have to go up to 9, maybe. Yeah, you know what? There's no sense taking a chance. Let's do that. Let's come up to 9,000. Just don't want to take the chance. We can do a slow climb. I've got room. I'm doing pretty good at handling the small planes, but the commercial jets, I'm still struggling. I can have a pretty decent flight, and then something goes wrong on the next one. rugged, very rugged, but beautiful. There's a lot of little valleys. That one doesn't look habitated, except for by nature, with a river running through it. My God, it's pretty but rugged. Oh my God. Wow, look at the drop off on that. From this angle, it looked like it was straight down, and it kind of is. So I wasn't as far from the coast as I thought I was. I think that's our destination right there. And by our destination, I mean for this leg. I wanted to see that. It's called Neal's Beach. And it looks like a pretty little cove on the map. And then from there, we're going to take off north up the coastline. Although I don't think it's exactly north. It's more like northeast. I wonder who Neal is, why he has a beach. I wonder about stuff like that. Once I get over these hills, I can come down so we can sightsee a little more, because I don't think we've got too much of a hill problem as we go up the coast. That's the reason why I wanted to go that way. If I was going to go through that, I'm having to stay pretty high up. But if I go the coast, it looks pretty low elevated. There's some hills there, but not like this. "11 nautical miles to go on this leg. I hope I put enough fuel in. I didn't check. Might be running into a fuel problem if I don't watch myself here. Now, I'm not sure, but I think the runway kind of runs this way. And if I was going to land there, I might go out in the water and come around and come in from that direction. Depends on which way the wind's blowing. All right, I guess it'd be safe enough to come down. Let's pop our altitude down to maybe 6,000, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, it looks like the airstrip heads that way. I was thinking it was more this way, but I think it's more that way. Hard to tell, but I think it's going that way. Well, we can see it now. It is going that way. I was thinking it was more this way. All right, well, there's Neal's Beach. It looks like all it is a little airport. It's kind of weird. There must be something there to go to. It's, unless they're doing that just to fly to the beach. What was that? Oh, it's my airspeed. Because I'm dropping, my airspeed went up. Let me pull back a little bit. All right, I can bring it back up about there. Okay, from here we're going to head up the coast. I've got several stops. Well, they're not stops. Legs, let's say. Man, it's a wet, cold one out there today. It just looks, it looks winter today where I live. And like I say, we're supposed to have a winter storm warning today. Through today through till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And basically I think that means it's going to be windy. The weather's not that bad. The low's only going to get down to 35. And we got highs of about 46, 47 today. But it's just nasty looking out there. It's hazy, wet, cold looking. We got a little island out there. There's one thing about flying in places that I've really no idea what they're like. I don't really have much to say other than, commenting on the terrain. What I generally do on flights like this is I put a flight plan in, and while I have the flight plan in, after I have done the scenic part, which is what we're doing right now, I have it on clear skies. Generally what I will do is when it's over, I'll take a little bit of a break, and I'll come back in and fly it with live weather just to see what that's like. Nice little harbor there. Wonder what's out on that island. Something that will eat you. I mentioned something here a while back because I was flying in Australia, and I said something about Australia. And I said, yeah, Australia is a scary place because everything there wants to eat you. And one of my subscribers, a buddy of mine, lives in Australia. Several people I know live in Australia, but one in particular sent me a notice, and he said, "Not everything wants to kill you in Australia." And I typed back, "That's fair, but most things do." And then he laughed. He said, "Well, that's true. Everything has to eat." I'm sure some of the things in Australia are saying, well, humans, they taste like chicken. Isn't that weird? How many things taste like chicken? I've had people try to and fooled me when I in my ute. I had people that invited me over for dinner and told me we were having chicken, and then told me afterwards that no, that was frog legs or something, or we're having chicken, and it turns out it was rattlesnake. That they did that a couple times to me. I can actually bring this down some more, can I? Let's go down another 1,000 feet. And we're over our next leg, Host Aerodrome. What is an aerodrome? Is it just a fancy way of saying airstrip? That's kind of a strange looking land down there. Is it sandy? You got three. That river is making 3, 4, 5 branches to it. That's weird. And then it lets itself out into the ocean. All right, we're coming down to 5,000 feet, and then I'm gonna have to go right back up again. But we'll see. Maybe 6 feet, 6,000 might take me over those hills. We'll see. We get a little bit closer. What's over there? It's not going to show me. Can't get close enough to see what that is. So that's the Hast Aerodrome. The next one coming up is Franz Joseph Aerodrome. So they like aerodromes, whatever aerodromes are. I might have to look that up. What's the difference between an airstrip and an aerodrome or an airport? There's Host, right on the side of a hill. It's a little town. You can't even see anything. There's so much forest. You can't see the forest for the trees. Weird. Let me make sure my barometer's set right. And it is. Okay. There's a lot of trees down there. A lot of trees. That'd be some tough hiking. I think 5,000 is going to let me over this one. I didn't think it would, but looks like it's gonna. We're also, before we get to Franz Josef Aerodrome, there's another aerodrome just before you get there, but it's kind of off the track. It's a little bit off the flight plan, and it was so close to Franz Josef that I didn't select it. It's called Fox Glacier Aerodrome, and let's see if I can figure out where it's at. I think it's right up over. If you see that other valley coming to the ocean there, I think it's up over here. All right, I was going to look that up. What's an aerodrome? What does that mean? Okay, I gotta pay attention here, or I'm gonna hit that hill. Look at that! Oh wow, a little lake before you hit the ocean. Interesting. Okay, so I'm thinking that spot right there is where the other aerodrome is, because it's called Fox Glacier. And that looks like a glacier path to the ocean. I mean, there's no way that a glacier is going to get to the ocean with all these hills here. So that's probably what that is. Now, I chose not to fly to that aerodrome. I just looked it up, and aerodrome is a Commonwealth English aerodrome. Is a location from which aircraft flight operations take place, regardless of whether they involve cargo, passengers, or neither, and regardless of whether it is for public or private use. And then it says the term airport may imply a certain stature, having satisfied certain certification criteria or regulatory requirements that not all aerodromes may have achieved. That means that all airports are aerodromes, but not all aerodromes are airports. Usage of the term aerodrome remains more common in Ireland and Commonwealth nations, and is conversely almost unknown in American English, where the term airport is applied almost exclusively. So, if you were a farmer and just had an airstrip, that could be called an aerodrome, if it doesn't have any kind of regulatory, type status to it. So yeah, that looks like maybe a glacier came through, and I think that's the airstrip aerodrome up there, because it looks like on the map that it sets up on a hill. So yeah, I would assume that is that's it. It sure looks like it on the map, which means we're not far from Franz Josef Aerodrome, which also looks like it's in a path of a glacier. Now, I could actually be wrong on this, because it's hard to tell from the map I'm looking at, because it's not a terrain map. It's a flight map. that might be it right there, because this is the path I'm flying right here, and it's just off to the right. So I don't know what that is up there. It doesn't show me anything up there. There is one called Mount Hook. I'm sorry, Mount Cook, and that could be that one up there. So yeah, we'll see. I might be getting close enough to this one to see what it is. I assumed when I put the flight plan together that this Fox Glacier I didn't really need to fly. I didn't need to include it in the flight plan because I figured that I was flying close enough to be able to see it. That's Bruce Bay. Now that's the town. That doesn't mean... Well, now I don't know where it's at. Like I say, the map I'm looking at is a flight plan. It tells you where the airports are, but doesn't really tell you about all the little towns and things like that. Interesting. So that's not what I thought. I came down a little bit farther. We're at 4,500 feet now. Don't want to get too low because then you can see what's underneath you, but you can't see, so this is about right, 4,500. I'm safe enough, height-wise, but low enough to play tourist. Look how clear the water is down there. Yeah, I don't think we're close enough. I think that what I'm looking for is a lot farther up the road here, because this little tongue that sticks out right here, I'm actually, if that's what I'm looking at, and it is, okay, right where I'm at, let me show you, pull the map over. Okay, so there, right here is that little tongue, so I'm flying right about here, right in here right now. So that Fox Glacier is way up here. So I was completely off on that. I blame it on the Mountain Dew. And nothing for miles but a little farm. Or whatever that is down there. If that's not farmland, I don't know what it is. It's in strips though, isn't that weird? Huh. probably too late to check the fuel, but yeah, I'm down there, but I've got enough. Pretty sure. I have to keep my eye on that. I should have checked that before I took off. That happens with me. One of the problems I have, I need to, what is that? Karan Garua? It's Karen Garua. It's a Karen. I need to keep a checklist when I'm flying and stuff because I'm always anxious to get going. I want to get going. And then I take off and I think, oh, shoot, I forgot to turn lights on. Oh, geez, I forgot to check the fuel. Oh, I should have set an altimeter, you know. Like I did with this one, I forgot to set the altimeter. I usually try to do that on the ground so that I don't have to worry about it when I get in the air. It's a little bit different when you take off and all of a sudden you have to get up there and start doing maintenance, you know. So you're up here setting everything that you should have set before if you were prepared. So, okay, there's that Franz Josef there. So there's a little airport right in about here, supposedly. So I'm guessing it's that one right there. And so that, again, looks like a glacier came through because it's kind of taken all the trees and mountains and straight to the ocean. I just thought it sounded cool. Fox Glacier. Not that Franz Josef doesn't sound cool. All right, there we go, right there. I bet that's it. Fox Glacier Aerodrome, that's it, right there. I was just too far south, farther south than I thought I was. And that's why I didn't put it on the flight plan, because I figured it was close enough I'd be able to see it if I went straight to Franz Josef. And there's Fox Glacier. Now, it says it's a little town, but I don't see any buildings. There's farms out here. And I don't know why you'd put a town right on a glacier path. I suppose you'd be thinking, well, the glacier's already been through here. It's going to be a while before it comes back. But yeah, see, I don't see any buildings or anything. So what is it? The icon has buildings on it, but I don't see any buildings. And who maintains this aerodrome? I'm having kind of an issue a little bit on my flying in the fact that for right now, most of my flights have been in the U.S. and they use poundage and feet, and they don't use kilograms and that kind of thing, and liters. And not everybody uses liters either. There's a lot of places that don't use liters, because even in Europe, I noticed on some things that people were doing where they say, yeah, that they use liters, but liters aren't what they normally use. I think they're using kilograms. But you can set your system up to use poundage or whether you're flying in the U.S. or not. But it's confusing in that if I fly in Europe and I've got everything set up for kilograms and stuff like that, and then I fly in America and I forget, and so when I tell them to put fuel in, I don't get the right amount, and I get into trouble. So I've kind of decided that maybe I'll just let it stay at kilograms, because it'll convert it for me. When I do a flight plan, it knows how much fuel I need, and all I have to do is to tell it, are you using kilograms or are you using pounds? And if you listen, even people that fly in Europe will say that they have so many tons of fuel on board. So when they're not using poundage. So it is confusing. But having to think about where I'm flying and setting it up, what it comes down to, there's Franz Joseph. What it comes down to is the preparation. I've been watching a couple of real life pilots that are using the flight simulators. And interestingly enough, I've heard comments from a couple of them that they got into flight sim only because of COVID, because they got laid off. There weren't so many flights going when that was between 20,000 and 2020 and 2023. A lot of them are going back to work, or have gone back to work. But for at least 2020, a lot of them were laid off. And they said, you get kind of rusty, and your confidence is kind of, goes wavering, and so a lot of them got into the flight sims to kind of keep their skills up. Now, you might think that, well, if they know how to fly, they know how to fly. Well, that's true, but those are not the skills I'm talking about. The skills I'm talking about are the procedures. The checklists, the procedures, they get rusty. And, obviously, if you're not actually flying every day, you're going to get rusty there too. But I think that more of it, and it is for me, is the procedures. Now, I've watched a couple of these guys that are actual pilots, and I'm not talking about flying a little plane like this. I'm talking about these are airline pilots with thousands of hours of flight experience. And even on the simulators, they're going through their checklists. And I don't do that. I start my plane up by what I have seen done from memory. Okay, now you flip this switch and now you turn some fuel on, and the thing is, that might not be in the correct order. And I have actually listened to a few of them that say you don't have to be in the exact same order. There are certain pilots that like to do things in a certain order, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as they're checking everything they need to check. I didn't realize I didn't put that airport in. Oh, on the map it doesn't look, interesting. On the map it's kind of grayed out. I don't know what that means. So maybe that's the reason why I didn't put it on. Huh. Well, we're past Franz Joseph while I was yapping. And so let's see, what do we have left from Franz Joseph? I think, yeah, okay. I still have a few to go. Yeah, it looks like I've got 4 or 5 legs still going. Yeah, we're not even halfway on our trip yet. We're about a little over a third. I may not have enough fuel. I might have to cheat and throw some fuel in, because we're down to 27%. Okay, you're not looking, right? But that's what I'm talking about. I need to get more organized. And the thing is, when you don't have a lot of time, and I have time, but I don't have an overabundance of time because I have other things that I'm doing. So you have to realize, if you are an aficionado of this game, if you're somebody that's playing this game, you have to dedicate a certain amount of time. If you're playing 5 or 6 games or doing other things, you may not have enough time to devote to flight sim, because it takes a lot of time. There are times before I even take off from an airport, I've spent an hour putting a flight plan together, or maybe refreshing, my knowledge of the particular plane that I'm flying. Like, I'll give you an example. Last night, I had purchased a Boeing 737-600. It was about $35. The other Boeings are, there's the 700, the 800, the 900, and all of those are like $70 on sale. It's a couple of them are on sale, and it's like $70. So I got the 600, which was cheap. It's the regular price on it's $34, and it's an interesting plane. It's older, obviously, because it's one of the earlier models. The fuselage, which is the you'd be considered the plane itself, the fuselage. And then, of course, you've got the wings. And then this Boeing 737-600, the fuselage is shorter than the wingspan. So the wings are longer than the actual plane. It's a pretty interesting plane. And that allows you to land on smaller airports, at smaller airports and stuff. And it limits your passengers, of course, but it's an interesting plane. I purchased it, and I was flying the 747. Now I'm in the Boeing. It's an older model. It doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles, so there's a lot of stuff you have to do manually. And oh my God, I found a checklist, and I spent hours on it last night just trying to get the thing set up for one flight. And when I got into the flight, the takeoff was okay. The actual flight was okay. But when I got to my destination, I hadn't done a good enough job of putting everything in the autopilot. And I couldn't land. As a matter of fact, not only could I not land using the instruments and stuff, I missed the airport. For some reason, the flight plan I put together had me flying like I am right now. And I was flying, and I thought, my God, I should have been to my destination by now. And I looked at a map and found out my destination was way behind me. It was way back over in here. And I thought, what happened? And I looked at my flight plan, and the plan I was on went forever in this direction. So I did something wrong. So I took it off of excuse me. Cracking up here. I had to take it off of autopilot and take over manually flying the plane and heading back to the airport. So I just set my nose. I could see where I had to go, what direction. I set my nose that way and just manually flew it back to the town I was looking for, which is in North Carolina. And I found the town, and I had to fly close enough to see which way the airstrips went, so I could line up. And then I had to come all the way around again, and so that I could come in line up to that airstrip and manually land it. And I did. It wasn't bad. The airplane handles nice, so it wasn't all that difficult to land it. The difficulty is in finding landmarks when you're up in the air, because those things, you have to be far enough away to be able to come down and line up to that airstrip. And so from the air, you have a hard time seeing the airstrip. So I have to, as I'm doing my go round, I'm looking for landmarks so that I can say, okay, when I see this hill right here, at the bottom of this hill right here, that's where I want to be, so that I can line up with the runway. So you find yourself some kind of a landmark, like it might be that what looks like a crater right there. So I'm flying that way. When I turn around, I know I have to be in the middle of that crater to line up with the airstrip. And once you get lined up, that's the hard part. Once you get lined up, then you just slowly come down, put your flaps on, put your landing gear down, as long as you're heading in the right direction. And then pretty soon you're low enough and slow enough that you can see the airport, the airstrip. I mean, you may be able to see the airport from a long way off. It's the airstrip you need to line up with on the particular runway that you want. But that's the hard part. Once you get that done, then it's just a matter of bringing the plane down and landing. And so, I manually came in and I landed and everything was perfectly fine. But lesson learned. I need to get better at the putting the flight plan together, because something was wrong. So when you're flying big planes like that, you're relying on the instruments. Like right now, I don't need the instruments. I can see, and this plane is small enough that you can maneuver it down to where you need to be. The big planes, you don't. You need to have lined up with the runway that you're trying to land on a ways away, so you've got enough time to get it down and speed down and all of that kind of stuff, and get everything set up that you need to land. It's not as easy. So the problem with what happened last night was you could certainly line up to the airport, but there are different ways to come in and line up to that, and that's the part I didn't do. As a matter of fact, like I said, I missed the whole damn airport. So I don't know. I really don't know what I had done. I thought that I had my departure right, which I did. That's the easy part, because you're already there. You're on the ground. You know which runway to go on, and you have to follow the runway down, and then get on your flight plan. That's easy. It's clear on the other end when it's 1,000 miles away. And I thought I had that airport as my destination, and something went wrong. Okay, so we're coming up. What do I have? All right, we're coming into NZHK, and then we're going to do a little slight left. There was another little airstrip I didn't put in right there because we're going to fly it over it anyway. So we're going to take a little bit of a left here and follow the coast up again. I finally figured out how to set my settings up so that I can turn the engine sounds down outside. See, that's not so bad. Those big jets, they just howl. And they're so loud you can't hear straight. And it was even loud on the inside. So there's a setting, because a lot of times you'll notice that these pilots have earphones on. And so there is a setting to replicate the earphones, and it cuts the engine sounds down. You can still hear all the little clicks and bells and whistles in your cockpit, but it's not drowned out by the engine. And so I've got it set up that way now. And so in here it's quiet, but I can still hear the wind noise and the propeller and everything I need to hear inside. It's just not overpowering. And then when I go outside, you can hear the engine and the wind blowing and all that kind of stuff. But it's not overpowering. Boy, I tell you, what I was having to do was I was recording, and then when I go into the editing, I'm having to take that engine noise when I'm outside and dropping the sound down. When I record video, my voice, and the game sounds, all three separately. So if I'm playing a game where there's a lot of talking in the game, like let's say I'm playing a role-playing game like Hogwarts right now, where you've got your characters talking, that sound is separate from my voice, and the video is separate from the sound, all the sound. So I can mix it all together and adjust it. So what I normally do is I try to match my voice volume up to the volume of the NPCs in the game. So when they're talking, their voice volume is close to what my voice volume is. Sometimes I'll put mine a little bit higher because I have to overpower music in the game or external sounds in the game. Like right now, I might have to overpower my voice to go over the engine noise. So that's kind of how, when I edit, I can change those things. And people say, why does it take you so long to edit a video? Well, it's because of that and other things. I edit out things like if I sneeze or if I cough, or if you want to get comical, if I fart, which I don't, but, well, I do. Everybody does, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm not sitting here and ripping them off, is what I'm trying to say. If I did, I'd cut them out. But there's a lot of things. Like I have a clock in here. I'm a clock guy. I've got two grandfather clocks. I've got several, 30-day clocks that bong, bong, bong. And I don't do cuckoo clocks. I don't really like cuckoo clocks. I've got some clocks that play music at the hour, that kind of stuff. Well, I've got a clock in here that bong, bong, bongs. And sometimes if I don't remember to turn that off, you'll hear it. I have alarms set so I know how long I've been recording. And sometimes, those I have to cut out. And sometimes I miss them. There's been times where Carol has stuck her head in and needs to tell me something. And if I'm not fast enough to hit the mic button, or I don't hit the mic button at all, I just say, I'll cut that out, and then I forget and I miss it. I've had that happen several times, and it's comical. They'll hear me talking with my wife, or she's yelling at me, No, she doesn't yell at me. Anyway, that's why it takes so long to edit videos, is there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to make it right. If you didn't care, you could just leave it, just record it and put it on like you know. But I want it to be right. I want the sound to be good. I want my voice to sound better than it really does in real life. My voice is changing as I get older. For the last several years, my voice is deeper than it was when I first started because I'm using my voice a lot more than before I used to record. Now, my age is starting to come in and my voice is changing. It's cracking more and I'm not as confident as I used to be. So I'll tend to stutter and you know, there'll be pauses in my speech now because I have to think about what I want to say. Used to be I just rattle stuff off. Okay, so we got Hockatika. What? Hockatika? That's weird. And then we got our little airstrip. And another little town, Seaview. I bet you there's sea views all over the world. In America, there's lots of sea views and seasides. I've seen towns called Seaside, and they're not even close to the ocean in America. I don't know why they named it like that, unless they moved from the coast and they just miss it. So they named their town after the coast. All right, we're going to carry on the coast here. So, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of a turn here. And we're going to fly over some water right now. A little bit. On the map, it looks like I'm right on the coast, and I am. But it looks like I'm right on the coast here when I think I'll be actually going across this little water strip right here. More farmland. Strips of it. Like I said, wherever there's not a hill in the way, you get any kind of flat ground, there's going to be a farm on it. The original flight plan that I was looking to do was going to end right up here. So we're at an hour and 30-some minutes, something like that. And I may edit that down a little bit. I debated when I first started playing this game, the simulator. I hesitate to call it a game. It's really not. It's a simulator. In the truest sense of the form, this is a simulator. Unlike Farm Sim, in my mind, Farm Sim is a game. You can quasi simulate things, but it's nothing like this. It's a stretch for me to think that I'm simulating a farmer in Farm Sim because of the restrictions in the game. I mean, I've talked about this before. You bring your grain truck to a silo and you dump it in the silo and it's got corn in it, and then you come back 5 minutes later and you've got wheat and it goes in the same silo. That's not very realistic. And there's a lot of things like that. When you're on your tractor, You're not using a clutch. You're not using hydraulics. You're not unhooking, you know, the equipment like you would normally. There's a lot of things that they could do if it was a true simulator. And the models that we're doing in the simulator that we're on right now are not 100% either, but they're a lot more than they are in Farm Sim. I mean, if you go in here, a lot of these switches do stuff, and some of them don't. But a lot of them do. And there are consequences if you don't have it set up right. But in Farm Sim, there's very little of that. You know, you jump on a tractor, you start it up, and you go forward, or you go backwards, and you turn left and you turn right, and that's about it. You know, you may be able to dump a trailer, but that's about it. There's not a lot of simulation in my mind. In some of the models that we have in Flight Sim, if you notice these circuit breakers, they don't necessarily all do something. In some of them, they do, and it depends on, you know, the plane that you're flying and the model that they've done, and, you know, but a lot of these things will do what they have to do, and if you don't have them set up right, they're not going to work right. So, in my mind, this is closer to a real simulator than Farm Sim ever would be. I know people get mad when I say that. I've had people tell me that it is a simulator. It isn't. It's a game. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean I don't like it. Well, I'm missing this strip. Look at this strip here. It's heavily habitated. All the way down the ocean here. Isn't that cool? I'd hate to live here if there was a tsunami, but Greymouth, did I do Greymouth? I think I did. I did. Okay, so when we get to Greymouth here, we're going to take a little bit more of a left. There's a strip right there. One of these days, I'm going to start doing touch and goes where I get to these little ones and you touch down and take off again, so you can kind of see a little bit of the area, the runways and the airports. That'd be kind of fun. This wouldn't be too hard. I could probably do it. It takes a lot of time, though, because you have to slow down, you have to land and take off again. Cobden. Look at that. It's kind of cool. That's got to be man-made. That's not right there, but this I bet is probably man-made, this strip out here. All right, here we go. A little bit of a left. Quaint little towns. I can't see really what that is. Might just be a shadow. There's a bridge. Point Elizabeth. All right, now we get past Greymouth here. We're heading for, what is it? Westport? Arapaho? That sounds like Native American. A nice little town just tucked between these two hills. Hey, look, there's an island for sale down there. You can live on that little island right there. Get yourself a little cabin. I would be. That'd be funny if there was already somebody there. I guess it depends on who it belongs to. A lot of stuff like that in America is the government's taken over. Government took everything. If you fly over America, you see any kind of forest, it's probably owned by the government. We still got a little ways to go. I think I'm gonna pop out for a minute and start some tea water. I'll be right back. Hey, I didn't crash. Yet. Day's still young. Berrytown. Why is it Berrytown? Why is it up on a hill? I don't know what's going on there. Why is the marker there? You'd think if it was a town, it'd be down here. I mean, it's right up there in the middle of the trees. I don't see a town. Why is the map marker way up there? Inquiring minds want to know. Virgin Flat. What? Where'd you come up with that name? I wonder what all these dark areas are in the ground here. What is that, I wonder? I mean, these trees don't look real green, do they? Looks like the ground is sick or something. What is that down there? A little swirl. Is that a road? Somebody cut a road in that pattern? There is Westport. From Westport, we're going to take a right and head across these mountains here. Yeah, we're going to take a right here and go across these mountains. There's a peninsula. If you look at the land here, that where the ocean is, it goes way out and then around. And then there's a channel between this landmass and the next one. We're going to be cutting from Westport right straight across to where that is. We're cutting this whole peninsula off. If you look here, I'll show you. We look at the map here at Westport. I'm going to come straight across here. I debated whether to run up here, like from to here and then up here maybe and back down, and I thought no, I don't want to add the time, so we're going to be cutting off across here to Nelson, and then from there we're going to fly right into Wellington. There's that waterway that's separating these two land masses here. And we're going to manually fly in. I didn't set any kind of approach. If you see here, the flight plan is going to take me straight to the airport. So I'm going to have to wait till I get there and then line up to manually line up to an airstrip. That's okay. We can do it. Westport. Is that some kind of track down there? Like a dog track or a horse track? Interesting. Wow, that's a big building down there. I wonder what that is. Some kind of motel or something? What the heck would that be? Would that be a horse track? Huh. I have to come back in a smaller plane and take a look at that. Is that a big swimming pool down there? What the hell is that? There's another kind of a track down there. That one looks more like a dirt track for an automobile or something. It's weird because on the map you don't see that you're over water. It shows the plane right over the land there, but you are over a little bit of water here. Fairdown. Okay, so we've got a little ways to go before we get to Nelson. Let me go check my tea water. I'll be right back. Alrighty. What did I miss? Birchfield. Yeah, it's a good thing I got up and checked. My blood sugars are low. I need to eat something. I chose to do this just before lunch, not realizing I was going to go into lunchtime, and I kind of didn't have my lunch today. So Carol's out making me a sandwich. I could actually pause the flight if I wanted to, but I think I'm going to let it go, and we'll just work around the sandwich. Granity. Real life comes into effect once in a while, and that's okay. It's not like I do this for a living. Do this for fun, and so family and life has to come first. Millerton. Okay, now this is interesting country. I didn't think about having to go up in altitude. What the heck is that? Is that water or what? What is that? And there's roads down there, so they must be doing something up here. There must be some kind of gravel pit or sand pit, mining something. I don't know. This is weird. All these roads and stuff going up here. They're doing something up here. Stockton, Millerton, Granity. We already seen those. Okay, I can't pronounce that one. Alrighty, so I need to decide if I need to go up in altitude. There are some mountains here. So I think to be on the safe side, I'm going to go up a little. So let's go in, go to the autopilot. We are currently at 4,500 feet. Let's go at least 6,000 feet at least, and see if that doesn't help us out a little bit. And we're not that close, so I've got plenty of time to climb. We're closer than you think, but I still have time to climb. Time to climb. And it rhymes with time. I got a new plane the other day. It's really cute. I don't know. I've been making these videos, and I don't they're not going up in any particular order, because it's not like I'm playing a game where I'm continuing on from where I left off. Each trip is its own adventure. So I don't know if you've seen it yet. I got this little plane. The cockpit is complete glass. I mean, you're just surrounded by this glass cockpit, and you can see everything. So it's a perfect little plane for touring and sightseeing. And it's got a parachute in it. So out of the back of the plane, you know, right behind where you sit, there's like a rocket launcher. And if you pull an emergency handle, this parachute gets shot out like a rocket and brings you down safely. I haven't done it yet. I've seen other people do it in videos. They say that in real life, if you do it, it ruins the plane. But then again, like I've said earlier in another episode where I was flying the plane, that's better than the alternative. You know, ruining the plane. God, do I need to go up a little more? I think I can make it, but we'll see. I better. Let me go up just a hair more. Go up to 7,000. Just be on the safe side. Anyway, this little plane is cuter than a bug, and it's fun to fly. It's really a stable little airplane. I watched a guy trying to stall the thing, and he was having a hard time just stalling it. It's not necessarily a plane for doing acrobatics. That's not its function. But he was having a hard time getting it to stall. I mean, not a terrible time. Any plane's going to stall if you do certain things with it. But it's pretty stable, and it's fun to fly. It's not very big. It's a little two-seater. But I've been using it. Like I did a video the other day going out of Quad City in Illinois, Quad City International Airport. And there's some people that watch my videos that live there, and so I decided rather than take off from the airport and only see, you know, that, I had got in that little one and flew around the airport and the little town there, so that if somebody lives close by, they can see, you know, where they live. And then I landed and got in my commercial jet and took off from that airport. Can't remember where I flew to though. See, I went from Illinois. Where did I go? Oh, I remember. I went from Illinois, I went north to Minnesota and flew into St. Paul. That was an experience. It was a fun flight. And I think that's one of the best landings I've had yet. I had a landing the other day in the Airbus that was a good landing, but it was so windy that when I got down on the runway, it was throwing me all over the place. So, although the touchdown was really good, you know, I still had to stop, you know, from 180 miles an hour, 160, whatever I came in. You still have to stop the plane on the ground. And man, that wind was just blowing me around. And then I had one where it was the computer that caused the problem. In that there was so much stuff going on the graphics card that I was having a stutter. So I was flying in like this, and it was so hard because I didn't have a problem lining up and coming down, but when I actually touched down, now I have to steer the plane to slow it down and get it to the end of the runway, and that's where I was having trouble because the stuttering, I would turn the wheel to the left, or not the wheel, but I would turn to keep it, you know, on in the middle of the runway, and by the time it got through the stutter, I was going off in a wrong direction. And so then I corrected and it stuttered again and I overcorrected to the right. So I'm going down the runway left and right, trying to keep it in the middle. And it was the stutter that was giving me the problem because I couldn't tell how much rudder to give, to keep it in the center. I was overcorrecting because of the stutter. I can't wait to get a better computer. This is a good computer, but it could be better for this game. That's weird that there's no trees in this area right here. Wonder why. Anybody that's familiar with New Zealand, are there volcanoes over here? Man, got some rugged country up here. Check the fuel again. Wow. I don't think I would have made it because if you remember, I boosted the fuel up and it's down to 28% again. Yeah, I would have run out of fuel. Bring it down to 6,000 again. Oh, that was cool. Look at that. Sweet. Bring it down again a little bit. See if we can get away with this. Whoops, I was going the wrong way. I want to go down, not up. Capoeira? Interesting terrain down there around that hill. So we're down, we're down out of the rugged mountains, but now we're down into the rugged hills. Man, rugged country. Beautiful country, but rugged. All right, we're coming up to Nelson, and you can see there's a bay right here. If we look at the map, you can see it a little better. So there's quite a bay right here, and little bitty island type terrain over here. Waterways all the way through it like that's kind of cool. At Nelson, we're going to do a little bit of a right and go straight across to Wellington. Now, the reason why I didn't stop at Nelson and I'm going to Wellington is I want to see if they've changed anything at Wellington, because that's what this trip was all about. Excuse me. Because that's what this trip was all about, was the new scenery in New Zealand. Pigeon Valley. The hell does that mean? Yeah, that's a pretty good sized bay right there. Didn't look like it from the map. Just looked like a tiny little area, but it's actually pretty good size. So we are flying kind of east right now. Sometimes on the map it looks like we're going north, but I don't have my map on my plane heading north. There's north that way. So the map rotates with which way I'm going, and so sometimes I think I'm going north. Well, I'm not, because north is that way. So I'm kind of going more east than north. That can be confusing. North, south, east, and west, they don't mean much to me. I'm not one of these kind of people that you can say, Blightwater? A little town called Blightwater. I'm not one of these kind of people you can say, okay, you need to go 3 miles north and then go northeast for 7 miles, and then you want to head west. I'm not going to get to my destination if I'm trying to follow that. You need to tell me, just go straight as piss until you get to a blue house. When you see a blue house with a red barn, take a right. Go straight as piss until you come to a yellow house. When you see a wind tower, a windmill that's got only 2 propellers on it, take a left. I mean, that's kind of how I kind of go. Otherwise, I'll get lost. Applebee. Now, Nelson is spread out, isn't it? Look at that. Because there's houses and stuff everywhere around here. It's really spread out. Look at that. Now, there is condensed right there. There's it's a farming community. You need to say that it's a farming community, because look at all this farmland with houses around it, and then you got dense population in one area there, up in there, and back there. There's hope all the way over there, all by itself. We have hope. Best island? Who's the judge of that? Bell Island. Best Island is before Bell Island. Can't see the rest of them. This is kind of a nice area, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of swampy looking here, but you could go in here and lay on a rock or something. And we're coming to Nelson right there. Where's the airstrip, though? Is that the airstrip right there? Yeah, it is. Wow, that looks a little shaky. Can't remember who I was talking to the other day. It was someplace over in Great Britain, and somebody was telling me that there's an airport by them that's basically right in the middle of town, and that's unusual. Usually they put airports outside of towns. If they crash, they don't take out all the people. But they said, yeah, this airport's right in the middle of town. Can't see that, what that is. Ainsbrook. Man, look at all the little towns. They're subdivisions. Oh my God. Look at that down there. Built on a hill. Look at all those people looking down at everybody else. Well, this whole place is a hill, isn't it? You know, crap runs downhill. But these poor people that live on the outskirts, they got a quicker way out, though. All right, I need to watch my altitude here because we got to go. We got one more stretch of mountains before we get to the waterway. We're on our last leg now. And just so you know, I went out to check on the tea, and my wife immediately asked me what my blood sugars were doing. I didn't know. I had to grab my phone. And I've got a sensor that's on my arm that's connected to my phone that tells me what my blood sugars are constantly. So I just have to look at it. So I pulled my phone out, and yeah, I was down quite low. I needed to eat. My blood sugars were lower than I thought. So I came back in here and talked to you guys and carried on. And she was kind enough to bring me a sandwich in. So that's why I've been kind of quiet for the last 10 minutes. I was chomping. It was very good. Soft bread, so it wasn't like I was chomping, but I don't like to watch or listen to people eat. And I've mentioned this many times in live streams and videos that there's a guy that I don't watch, but I've seen some of his videos, and he's always eating while he's doing whatever it is he's doing, and it's terrible. You can hear his crunch, 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 and he doesn't keep his mouth closed. Food falling out onto a plate, and it's just gross. It's disgusting. I don't know why he does it unless he thinks it's funny. He must think it's funny. But it's just, it just grosses me out. If you're familiar with Lord of the Rings, they're in the Return of the King, which I think is the third movie. Yeah, it's the third. There's a part where the steward of Gondor, the guy that runs Gondor, the old guy, and he's eating, and he's got greasy meat, and he's got grease all over his face, and he's eating what we call cherry tomatoes and biting into them, and the juice is running down his chin, and it's just it's my worst. I hate it. It's the worst part of the movie for me. I just cringe every time I see it. It's just, yeah, I don't like to see other people eating. Those commercials for that Carl's Jr. hamburger where the guy's eating it and it's running down his arms and down his mouth, and that does nothing for me. I'll never have one of those burgers. And that's my favorite kind of burger, one that, kind of like that. But that commercial just turns me off. To each their own, I guess. Perilous bridge. That's not what that says. Belarus Bridge? What did I say? Perilous? Hey, it might be perilous. I'm going to go right up this valley, looks like. Kind of. Sort of. Where are we on the map? Yeah, we still got a little ways to go. Few minutes. Over to the left here, you can't see it from here, but this is the area up here that has all the little swampy islands and stuff. We're going to be flying just to the right of them, so if we look at the direction I'm going, it's just off to the left here. There's all these little islands. You can see some of the water in between where there's just water. Little tiny little islands just popping up out of the water. Hey, the river running through this valley looks kind of cool. Wow, there's a valley goes both ways. Pretty. That's a dense area right there. Look at that. Sweet. Yeah, I asked earlier if there were volcanoes in New Zealand. I think there's one in Australia for sure. There's one that I flew over, and I couldn't remember whether it was New Zealand or Australia. I think it's Australia, but I didn't fly directly over. I flew kind of around it. But it's got the densest forest all the way around. And it was my indication from people that is restricted forest. You can't go in it. And you're not allowed in it. And it's just very, very dense. You can tell it's so dark all the way around this volcano. And because the trees are so tightly clustered together. Should check, see what the population of New Zealand is. Havelock. I just wonder what life would have been like if things would have been different when I was young. They had an opportunity for people to get land in Australia. And my dad was talking about it, about packing us up and taking us to Australia. Never happened, probably never would have. knowing my dad. Back then, I was young enough that I believed everything my dad said. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to go to Australia. It was, I can't say for sure, but I don't think it was anything that was serious. But they were trying to get people to move to Australia. That's some kind of marina down there, it looks like. And I often wonder if that would have happened, what life would be like. Probably wouldn't be alive because there's stuff in Australia that wants to eat you, regardless of what Daryl says. Everything wants to eat you. They got a movie out now called Cocaine Bear. He wants to eat you, but he was too busy eating cocaine. I don't know what the movie's about, but it's pretty bloody. It's R-rated. I'm assuming it's this bear that eats cocaine and goes crazy and starts killing people. Supposedly it's based on a real life story. But the real life story is that the bear died almost instantly. I guess the bear got to someplace, found a backpack full of cocaine, ate it, and started running, went out of his mind, and only got about 200 yards before he dropped down dead. So, is it based on a true story? Maybe, but very loosely, because I'm pretty sure the movie, the bear goes on forever, killing anything it wants to and eating everything and, cause all kinds of havoc while he's on a cocaine high. He's probably out partying, free sex and rock and roll, that kind of thing. It's not a movie I'm going to go see, but, I've never even seen the Chainsaw movies. Just doesn't, I'm not into that kind of movie. The kind of scary movies I like are the old, Hitchcock movies and things like that, where they're suspenseful, scary. Or the two movies that scared the bejesus out of me were The Exorcist and Jaws. And the reason why is because I'm a Christian. I believe in God and the devil. And The Exorcist could be real. You know what I mean? And it scared the bejesus out of me. Same with the Jaws. I know there are sharks out there. There are people getting eaten all the time. And so, those two movies were the scariest movies I'd ever seen as far as having me terrified. I mean, literally, I would not go out in the ocean. You couldn't pay me. There's big things out there that want to eat me. Picton. I wonder if any of those islands have life on them, as far as human life. What's that down there? Shakespeare Bay? I've heard of that. Where have I heard of that before? Keep looking for a little hobbit house. Could be Waikawa? Robin Hood Bay. Why would they name Robin Hood Bay? Did Robin Hood leave England and come over here to live in his old age? All right, we're coming out of dry land, and we're going to go across this area here. I don't know what they would actually call that. A peninsula? It's a waterway between the two pieces of land. Port Underwood. I used to listen to a podcast called Underwood and Finch. It's about a vampire, and it was Underwood, and Finch was the guy that took care of him, the human. It's like his butler or something. I wonder what ever happened to that. I think it's still been going. I stopped listening years ago, but I'm sure the story probably went on. I should look it up. Might want to get back in there and see if there's any new story to it. That's the thing about vampires. They can tell stories for generations because, they live forever if somebody doesn't stake them. There could be lots of stories from generation to generation. And there could be period pieces. It could be back in the 1800s, and then it could be in current times. Never-ending story. You know what? I better check my fuel. Oh boy, I'm down to 20%. I think I can make it. But I gotta watch it. I don't want to run out right over the airport, crash and burn. Glasgow Bay. Okay, so when I get up here, it looks like the airport runway kind of runs not straight to where I'm flying. But this way, not this way. So I'm going to have to come out here a little bit when I get closer and then turn left and come in. I think, according to the map, that's what it looks like. And I'm not using any kind of instruments. I'm just flying manually. Manual labor. So, yeah. If we go in and look at our map here, the airport is here, and it looks like the runway is going this way. So I'll probably come out this way when I get about to the that TOD stands for something. Was it top of decline? Top of decline. So that's the high point. From there, you're going all downhill. But if I get to that point, maybe I'll come out here, and then come in, maybe. That'd probably be the way to do it. I'd rather do that than the other way and then miss the runway and end up in the water. So, hey, we're coming to an end of our trip. Nothing but water as far as we can see. There's all those little islands there. They look different on the map because there's a bunch of them you can't see. There's some of them that are just barely coming out of the water. Indeedly-do. Sit up so we can see something here. I'm glad it gives you that option to sit up in your seat. Some of them aren't bad. Some of them you can see out of to land, and some you can't. Makes it a little bit easier to see the runway. If you're down like that, you have to kind of, as you're getting closer, you're getting lower in the seat. So sweet. I need a hood ornament. I guess the hood ornament in this case is a propeller, right? This reminds me, watching the fuel here. I've already cheated once. I don't want to cheat again, but I might have to. I think I can make it, but it's going to be close. It reminds me of a guy when I used to work for the bank. There was one of the commercial loan officers with me that his gas gauge didn't work in his car. It went down to a certain level and then it stuck. So it'd go down to like maybe a quarter of a tank and then it wouldn't go any lower. So he never knew from a certain point whether he had any gas or not. And he never would do anything about it. And I kept asking him, why don't you just, when it reaches that point, pull in and fill your tank up? And he says, because I want to see how far I can go. And I said, well, how many times have you run out? And he said, oh, a couple times. And I thought, well, that's just the dumbest thing I ever heard. And I said, do you carry a can? And he said, no. And I said, oh, my God. That's just stupid. I had another guy. This was a banker. He kept a checkbook like everybody does. Well, maybe not anymore, but everybody used to have a checkbook. You didn't really have credit cards. Or if you did, you didn't use them. And when he wrote a check, let's say he wrote a check for $10.57. He would write in his book that he wrote a check for $11. If he had a check that he wrote was for less than 50 cents, like $10.45, he would write in his checkbook that he wrote a check for $10. He never wrote the actual amount of any check that he ever wrote. And he figured that it would balance out if he just rounded up or down. And he said that was easier. He never had to check. He never knew exactly how much money he had in his checking account. Never. I couldn't stand that. I was balancing my checkbook all the time. Of course, I was living paycheck to paycheck. You know, this guy, he'd been around for a while, and he made, more money than I did. He was higher up on the ladder. But yeah, I thought that was the craziest, dumbest thing. Just never would know how much he had in his account. Okay. So, when do I start? Hey, my phone's going off. What the hell's that all about? All right. So, take it out of cruise control. Start coming down here. Uh-oh. Going too fast. Slow it down. If you're on my airport's at, I don't see it. Okay, now that I'm taking a closer look, it's on the other side of this right here. There's a little bay back there. So I got to go around here and come in, is what it looks like. So we'll just keep moving out this way. Bring her down a little bit. I'm at 3,000. I come down to about 2,000, maybe 2,500. I'll get right to the runway and run out of gas. Silly me. Yeah, it's tucked back in that bay. All right, don't come down too far. I'm down to 1,700. I don't know where it's at. It's back there someplace. Well, there's some pretty hefty hills there. It's got to be on the other side of those. Why would they put the airport right in the middle of those hills? See, now this is what I'm talking about. When you're in a jumbo jet and you're coming in at 200-300 miles an hour, and you got heavy weight, you're heavy, and you need to be able to see the runway. And a lot of times you can't. You're either too high, or there's buildings around it, or whatever. By the time you can actually see the runway, you may or may not be lined up with it. And so, yeah, it's kind of tough. A lot of times I have to kind of fly over the airport, and as I'm flying over, find myself a landmark that kind of lines up with the airport, so that when I do my 180 to come back, I know what direction to fly in. All right, is that the airport? Yeah, I can see the end of it now. The lights are flashing. Okay, we got this, maybe. If we have fuel, we can make it. Wellington International. Look at all them houses on the hills, man. Like I said, people on the bottom. Moa Point. Got a frog in my throat. Where in the hell did that saying come from? I mean, did people literally have a frog in their throat and talk like that? Okay. I don't know if there's two runways there. I think there are. I'm on the one on the left, I think.
$500.
500. By golly, it is 500. Now, landing gear's already down this plane. Don't come up, so, but we can drop a flap and slow her down a little bit. Not quite lined up correctly, but come over a little bit. Now I overdid it. Silliness, but I did overdo it. It's wide enough. I'll be fine. So I came down a little bit too soon, but we made it. We made it. Is there a way to get... Wait a minute. There I am. There is, right there. All right, here we are, Wellington. And, I can't remember, but I think I have flown here. And it does look like there's more buildings, more modern buildings. Before, I think it was like some old nasty looking brick buildings or something. This looks a little more modern. So yeah, they've changed the scenery quite a bit here. Sweet. All right, well, I don't need one of the big runways, so let me just pull over here where these fuel pumps are, and we'll park her here and call her a day. I could call it a day. And we are down, and I made it with fuel and everything. Fuel to spare, right? What did I end up with? Oh my, 16%. Next time I need to get a checklist. Let me put the flaps up. Turn the lights off. All right, so here we are. We're down. Cut the fuel. Shut some stuff down here.
This parking is too small for your aircraft.
Okay. What do you want me to do? I'm not leaving. I already shut everything down. The engines will go off here in a minute. They run out of fuel. Finally. All right. Well, I hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed New Zealand. And hope to see you in the next flight. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and ta-ta for now.